Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my amazing co-host, Scouse Andy Lockhart. How are you, mate? You all right, bud?
Yeah, I've been better, mate. I've been better. I mean, have you ever had the pleasure pain theory? You ever had that? You ever heard of that, mate?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah.
that's exactly what I've been through over the past kind of 10 days, 2 weeks. Amazing time away at Green Bay. That's some fantastic people, and I'm sure we'll go through this in detail anyway. But then, literally, there's the pleasure part, and then the second part was basically, well, about a day and a half later after I got home. So I think it was the Wednesday that I got on Monday. On the Wednesday, unfortunately, my wife had a miscarriage. So that's why we didn't pod last week, man. So I do apologise for missing last week with the fans. But I didn't really want to put anything out there on social media, even though technically I am now. But just wanted to give kind of a reason for last week and basically just to raise awareness a little bit, that miscarriages are nasty for anybody who's involved, not just the wife, so to put out there for men who have gone through the same thing, and I totally get you. I mean, unfortunately, we've had 3 miscarriages in 4 years. So we've had it quite bad, yeah. So every time it's painful and doesn't get any better. But thank you to the people who do know about it. I didn't say post it out there on social media. It was my wife who put it up there on my Facebook or on her Facebook and tagged me in, and that kind of give some people who know. And thank you for everybody who did reach out to me. I do appreciate that. But yeah. But besides that, yeah, I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. Hanging in there. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, yeah. If anyone, thank you for everyone who reached out to Scouse. Obviously, that's why we weren't podding last week. But bit of respect there. Do you know what I mean? Family's most important thing. So yeah, fair play, mate. And I'm sorry. It's difficult, mate, because you don't really know what to say, do you? Do you know what I mean? So it's hard for everybody in that situation, but. Yeah, as always, mate, we'll start with our sponsors. So Dunstable Town FC's Talk of the Town podcast, we're their sponsor for this year. Also sponsored graciously by Oddballs. You can go across to myoddballs.com and go and follow them. They've got a sale on again. I think there's quite a lot of 50% off or whatever going around at the minute, so it's worth looking at that. Fusion Therapeutics as well, fusiontherapeutics.co.uk. They provide expert MSK assessments and treatments with a focus on holistic care. They're dedicated to improve your well-being through tailored musculoskeletal health plans. The team offer specialist injection therapy and non-medical independent prescribing. So if you're in the Northwest, Manchester or Cheshire area, give the team a call on 01606 512 013, or you can book online and the team will be happy to help you and advise you further on this affordable treatment solutions. And don't take my word for it. This is Scouse's business, all right? And he's got lots and lots and lots of 5-star reviews, and that is absolute facts. Even when we were away, people were ringing in and patients were ringing saying, can I get an appointment? So go ahead and give them a follow if you need anything. I was trying to tout for business on the plane when I was listening to air hostesses.
Yeah, that's right. You called me over to the woman, didn't you? Said, yeah, okay, she needs you. I was like, okay.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It just so if you're in that area, please give Scouse a call. Honestly, it's well worth doing. He's the top of his game, genuinely. So yeah, the draft in Green Bay, mate. We're going to go over that in probably a little bit more detail. So yeah, what an experience! Unbelievable from start to finish. I mean, I'll give the good, the bad, and the ugly as it comes out. But I mean, from my point of view, the good was, I got announced as International Fan of the Year, which is awesome. It's fantastic and very grateful of that. The bad, I would suppose, would be that you have nothing for 2 months, no contact from the team. And it's like, hold on a minute, what is actually going on here? Having to ring the hotel yourself and say, have I got a reservation is a bit much. Eventually got flight details and then headed out to Green Bay. obviously unaware of what was happening, no itinerary, nothing. I was going off the Browns International Fan of the Year. Kelly was going off her itinerary. So a little bit poor to start off with, but obviously when we arrived and we found out who our team rep was, Lee, she couldn't have been better. We'll get a bit into her a little bit more later as time goes on. Travel, mate, obviously you were whacked out with the time. 26 hours. It was a nightmare on it getting there. Atlanta was a bit weird, especially with the immigration side of it, spending so long in the bloody queue waiting to get through. 2
hours, wasn't it?
It was ridiculous to get through, but I know other people who we spoke to had similar problems all across the states getting in, which, fair enough, you've got to be vigilant, I understand that. But it's it was a nightmare trying to get through. I think 3 planes emptied the same time we were there, so it was like, this is good.
And then we had this little fella. We had this little fella. What was he?
Yeah.
What did we call him? I can't remember what we called him, but he was one of the officers, wasn't he? Who let you in?
TSA officers, yeah.
TSA officer, yeah. And every time he had a person come to him, he was just like grilling him for ages, wasn't he? And then he got like other guys in to try and take him away, and it was like, man, like. There's just one guy on his own, some English dude. You know what I mean? That's all it was. There was nothing sinister, nothing crazy going on. And it's like, mate, you're waiting like half hour with one dude here. I didn't need to be kind of kept back, if that makes sense. And we were just like, oh my God, it took forever to get through that queue. Like,
yeah, I mean, the bit that I didn't like was he was like, right, what's this stamp in your passport? And I was like, well, Tunisia. What's this stamp in your passport? Turkey. Oh, what's this stamp in your passport? Iraq. Okay. And I was like, what? So me being me, I was like, well, do you want Pakistan as well? Because, I'll just do the trifecta. And
that's it, man. Yeah, this is it. They probably thought you were well radicalized, man.
Probably, yeah.
You know that. You know what? He's gone to these fucking shady countries. What's going on? Yeah, you know.
Why are you here? I was like, going to the NFL draft. He's like, all right, well, why? I was like, well, I'm the International Fan of the Year. Prove it. What? So I had to like pull up Google and go, there you go, it's there. And he's like, all right, okay, I'll let you off. It's like, wow, okay, cheers. But yeah, he had short man syndrome, big time.
Yeah, anyway. He was a short guy. Probably about 5'5", something like that, wasn't he? He was quite short.
Yeah.
I think he was actually really big bollocks,
He really was, yeah. After probably, what was it, a 5.5 hour pit stop in Atlanta, we finally got over to Green Bay. Quite a good flight, actually. Wasn't too bad at all across to Green Bay.
To be fair, it was fine actually on the one out because we had space.
Yeah.
We were getting crushed by people.
Space.
And we had space on there. It was great. As in the actual flight, it's fine. As in, not many people grilling you or in your face or knocking you in every time you're trying to move and. So that was all right. But yeah, it's just long, man. It was just long, wasn't it? I mean,
really
another 2.5, not too long, 2.5 hours, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then I think we eventually got to Green Bay and bags came off at about, 20 past 12?
Yeah, so we were like kind of, what's that? So we started our journeys. The third flight was actually 12:30 p.m., wasn't it? That was our first flight. From Manchester, obviously we had to get there before and 3 hours before, but and then obviously got there like basically half 12 a.m. but their time. So that's like including another 6 hours on top, really. So it's 18 hours just in the air. So yeah, that was quite painful.
So then you obviously flaked out day one. I luckily, well, for whatever reason, you were done, and the Jags International Fan of the Year, he was like, look, do you want to pop across and we'll go for breakfast somewhere? And I was like, yeah, why not? We'll go and explore Green Bay. There isn't a lot to Green Bay. It's a very, very small town. It wasn't really in draft fever, bearing in mind this is the Tuesday. You're like, hang on a minute, what is actually going on here? Or Wednesday morning, sorry. You're like, right, what is actually going on here? And then we prepared, and on Wednesday afternoon / evening, we had a meet and greet, a question and answer session with the commissioner, Roger Goodell. All the International Fans of the Year were there. Lots of other fans of the year of the actual teams and super fans, if you like, as well, or past fans who'd been fan of the year attended, just to try and fill the room up. I think.
And there was some like gold member season ticket holders as well for certain teams.
Yeah.
But literally, for us, there was only 4, wasn't there? There was me, you, and 2 others. It was Monica and Tyler.
Monica and Tyler, yeah. Them two.
Yeah.
She's the fan. She's the fan of the year last year for the Commanders.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, she was there this year, and but yeah, they were quite cool to meet up with, and we had a few last. That was cool, man.
It was good. It was a good session, I thought, with the commissioner. But some of the questioning, man,
yeah, that's what I was going to say, man. Like some of these questions were just a waste of time. Like, are you going to bring the Panthers over to Germany next year? Like he's not going to tell you that, is he? Like, why are you wasting a question that you're speaking to the commissioner about? You know what I mean? Like,
what's your favourite sausage? Was my favourite question he got asked.
What's your favourite sausage?
Yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, what a complete question, man. Not many people got a chance to actually ask him a question, and then,
exactly. Yeah,
like that. And I just thought, no. And that's probably the reason why Goodell probably cut it short. Probably the question and answer session.
I think there was about 6 or 7 questions that we were able to ask, and all of them were kind of nonsense, if you like, or people kind of bigging themselves up as well, which I was a bit like, hang on a minute, what? Whereas, I got genuine questions. I got genuine. Yeah, he did, yeah.
Chargers guy from Mexico, he was given a big one.
He was. He really was. I mean, I get what he does, and I think fair play. You know what I mean? Absolutely, but he doesn't want to hear. Yeah, he doesn't want to hear your life story. He's not interested in that. And then we were able to get on stage and have a photo with Roger Goodell. You put your little question to him across, which I thought was quite funny.
Question to him, as in like where everyone raised their hands and only certain people got picked. And we were right at the front as well. For some reason, we had like one of the best tables. We were right at the front next to him, basically. But anyway, they kind of didn't bother with us, did they? With those questions, really, with the women coming around with the microphone. But so when we got on the actual stage, I was like, "Well, I'm going to ask him something here." And basically, my question was, "Aren't you glad Dan is gone?"
What was his response again?
He just burst out laughing and then just went, "No comment." That's what he said. It was just brilliant, like a bit on the actual stage, but before he took the picture, it was brilliant, man. It was obviously he's never going to say, "Hell yeah, get the fuck out," you know what I mean? But yeah, it was that was quite funny.
That was quite funny. And then obviously we met our rep Lee, who gave us everything that we needed. Tickets were downloaded within 10 minutes. Emails were flying through. Everything that we needed was there, which was awesome. Really, really good in that respect. I got my Commanders Fan of the Year jersey, which was pretty sweet. And then we were ready to go for obviously night 2. We had a few beers with the others in the bar there. And then really, because everyone was quite jet lagged, it was like, right, we're going to call it a night quite early and just head in and pretty much do nothing. Veg out and get some sleep. And that's kind of what we did on the first night. And then day 2. Or day 1 of the actual draft, the Thursday, was a really, really long day from start to finish. We had the draft theatre tour in the morning, which was like 9 o'clock in the morning. So we got up, all of us had to walk across to the draft. Now, it wasn't too bad a walk. It's probably 10, 15 minutes to walk to the stadium, there or thereabouts. But I think it was the constant back and forward all the time.
Literally, that's one. Nothing next to it, was there? It was literally just what the NFL built. The stage and then a couple of like mini stalls, but they weren't really open yet at that time. So it was like kind of so we've got nothing else to do now for the next, because they probably for about 4 hours we didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, easy on that day. 4 hours.
So we obviously walked back and stuff, but yeah, I mean, yeah, right. You're right, Viscount. It was a Friday. We haven't gone to that yet, but the weather was horrific. I mean, Thursday was fine actually. I'm used to it. Was typical English weather, to be honest. Thursday and Saturday, to be honest. But Friday, that was different level, man. That was different level.
It was cold. It was definitely cold. So we got to do the red. We got to do the red. Got to the red carpet. We didn't get to walk through the normal entrance where we should have walked through because the stupid security guard said, no, you can't come through here. And everybody had to pile over to the other side of the stadium. So it was about another mile walk to get round. It was ridiculous. And then eventually we got to the red carpet late, as did all the other fans of the year. And yeah, we got booed by probably about 20,000 people in the stands. That was quite cool. That
was cool.
Pretty much booed every single fan as they walked down.
He hated the Eagles mostly. didn't really, but they beat us a little bit. We were together in actually NFC divisional
East.
teams, weren't
Yeah,
we? So
East,
NFC East was ours, and obviously, it's in those groups. So it was just like fancy all of them, 4 teams walking down. But then, it was cool. I said there was about like at least 10,000 people in the stand on that side, wasn't there? That was really cool. And they were giving you a bit of grief. Or there were some people actually calling us out, like, because like actual Washington fans, I think I saw 3. I think there was 3 in the kind of near stand. We really did not have a lot of presence out there. I'm not going to lie. I think I saw about 20 people overall.
All told, probably about that.
For the whole 3 days. So we didn't see a lot of people at all for Washington fans. But yeah, man, it was a cool moment then. Cool moment.
And then night 1 obviously kicked off. We sat in our seats and we had a really nice bag that was provided by the Commanders team with lots of good goodies in.
The cheese board, man.
Yeah, big cheese board and other bits and pieces all left out for us.
It sounds weird. It sounds weird that basically every draft has some sort of memento from the city it's in, for the people in the inner circle. And obviously, as we know about Green Bay, it's all about cheese over there. Even Deluxe mentioned it, cheese curds and, all the rest of it.
Yep.
And so they actually carved us out an actual NFL draft cheese board, and everyone had got one of those. So that was really cool. It was something a little different. Like, I think the year before was this year before.
Yeah, year before was at Detroit, and it was a license plate, wasn't it?
A license plate, yeah. And then the year before that was Vegas, and they got a pack of like specific cards or something. But it was just something like a little memento from the actual city that it's in. So that was quite nice. It's a bit weird.
And then
we held this cheese board doing here, but it was quite fun.
So we met up with old friends like LJ and Hog Farmer Joe and Gabby and KJ and Brian at Mr. Aston Villa, and a few others who were there. Monica and Tyler were there.
Sean as well. Sean was cool, man.
Sean was ace. He was so funny. Proper. He had his almost like a pimp outfit on.
Yeah, he did the first night. Pink suit, hat, the whole lot, didn't he? It was like what?
He was all right dude. The Commandalorians were there as well, so it was almost like the super fans, if you like, were invited within the inner circle. But speaking to the Hog Farmers, they were like, "Look, we need to mix this up a bit because it's getting a bit boring. Because they're like constantly invited. It is enforced fun. It's one of them where it's like, you've got to keep yay, when the camera comes on you got a cameraman going like keep going.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. And you're like, well, okay, yeah, great.
I don't know why, because we're never on the TV. I keep saying that.
I know.
Didn't I say that to you as well? That you wouldn't on your pick, you would not get on telly, and look what happened. You didn't. You know what I mean? Like,
I know
the lack of respect, man, for the Commanders or Washington overall in draft days is ridiculous, man. On the national media.
So then night 1 comes and we're close to pick 29. It gets to pick 27. And I get a call from an NFL executive to say, right, come backstage. And I was like, okay. So I go backstage, dab up Hairston, who went to the Bills. That was quite funny. And then I was in the back room with where all the jerseys get printed. The number 1 jersey where you hold it up for the commissioner holds it up with the prospect. And they said, look, if you pick someone who's left in the draft room, you're going to get to to hand the jersey to the commissioner. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Okay, this is pretty awesome. No phone on you, so you can't tell anybody who you've picked, because they want the commissioner to go out on stage and do that. Unfortunately, we didn't pick anyone who was there as a prospect. There's only 3 prospects left then. I think there was the guy who went to the Eagles, Campbell. There was Jalen Milroe and Hairston, who were the only 3 left. So I was like, it's really unlikely that we're going to pick anyone anyway from who's there. And then...
Yeah, it was quite weird, wasn't it? Because they only allowed during the tour backstage. They took us backstage, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he told us only 17 actual first round prospects who were actually invited. Yeah. So it's quite weird that I thought that there'd be at least 32. No, I always thought that in every draft, but there isn't, according to Green Bay team. They kept saying that no, it's about right. 17, 18 prospects with their families who have the little like kind of couches and all that set up for them. I was a bit shocked with that, really.
Yeah, I was too. I thought it'd be a lot more than that. I mean, it did look like a Lowe's superstore. When you looked at it and you were like, I don't really like this furniture, but it was cool. We got to look.
Also from the UK, a bit like IKEA. IKEA stuff, didn't it?
When you look up at like the area that the players were coming up, if anyone watched the draft, and you've got all the teams' logos, they're all carved out of wood. So they're all carved out of local wood that was from Wisconsin. And whoever did that, fair play, what an artist to do all them badges. I mean, it was ridiculous. So, yeah, when we got to do the tour, we got to touch the old Washington sign and, you know, give that a bit, stand next to it, get a photo, all that sort of stuff. It was pretty sweet. When we were backstage, it was like, right, okay, the guy who, from the communications side, it's almost like an inner workings of the draft room, if you like. He's got an earpiece in and he says to me, right, I've got a 4-second delay from the time that the team puts the phone down and after calling the pick in to when it gets into my ear. And I was like, all right, okay. And he said, this is all a show. And I went, okay. He said, so we make people wait as long as we possibly can to build the anticipation and all that. And I was like, well, we're at pick 29. You know, come on. Surely you'd be, you know, if you were pick number 1, pick number 2, I understand that, but not when you get further down the end of the first round. And he's like, no, this is how it works. And then sure enough, the clock was ticking and I could see that Washington's on the clock, and at 7 minutes he goes, right, okay, I've got it. And he said, oh, Josh Connolly Jr. And I was like, all right, okay. You know, initially I was like, it's not an edge rusher. What's going on? You know, and then I thought to myself, no, I can understand why they've taken him to solidify both sides. You know, you got the trenches solidified. Then I get it. So I understood the pick, but was I completely happy with it in the moment? Probably not. And then he said, oh, watch the clock. And I was like, okay. And then sure enough, clock rolling down. And at 1 minute 29, it then comes through saying the pick is in. I was like, hang on a minute, I've been stood here for ages watching this. And then he said, you'll see. He said, there's another 4 minutes before the commissioner goes on stage. And I was like, all right. Now, what I didn't know was as soon as he takes a foot on stage and you can see him on screen, there's a lady who presses a button that releases a tweet to the media hacks to say, oh, this is who they've picked. And then the likes of Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all them, they will then tweet that out as if I knew it first. So that's how they get their sources say they've picked this person before he's just about announced it. But as long as he's on stage, they'll let that go. And then he was sitting to me and he says, oh, you know, even though you didn't get to do the jersey bit, I went, yeah. He said, you do realise for the last 14 minutes, he's like, you've been the only fan in the world who knows who you've picked. And I was thinking to myself, oh, shit, yeah, actually, it's just dawned on me, yeah, I am the only person outside of the organisation who knows who we've picked. I thought, that's a pretty cool moment, that. I was like, actually, yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then after that, obviously, I got back to my seat and... We waited till the end of the draft and then headed off again, quite weary and like a bit, you know, overwhelmed with it all because, man, it was noisy and there was lots on there. I mean, you took videos of Green Bay when they were picking. I was like, wow, you know, it was ridiculous. I'm quite sick of hearing "Go Pack Go." I never want to hear that chant ever again.
No, that was awful, man. For a day, okay, you can put up with that, but then it was every other 5 or 10 minutes, wasn't it, for like 3 days straight? You know, I mean, like, yeah, it was grim. It was grim, to be fair.
And then obviously went back to our room. Day 2 came and we had a draft tour again of the actual draft room itself, so the inner workings of the draft. You know, talked to us about what had happened last night.
This was like the people who actually we called the brain, didn't we? We called the brain,
the brain. Yeah.
Everything got sent into the actual NFL offices. That's what we're talking about there. That way, the draft room is basically just like an office, isn't it? Basically, with like 10 people in there who just all got certain jobs and all on computers with phones and stuff like that. And they're the ones who kind of dictate when the pick says the pick is in and those type of things, wasn't it? That's what it was about. They're the ones who kind of make those decisions, and they're the ones who are kind of, if you're trying to make a trade, there's 2 guys backward and forward listening to the actual conversation between the GMs, and then once it's settled, they're the ones who kind of complete that, and that's it, and then get that set up ASAP. So it was quite some interesting things there, wasn't there? To be fair, not a lot but it was good stories.
Nothing to look at, and then I got where is it? I think I've still got it here. Yeah, I have. Did you steal what? Did you steal one as well, Scouts? One of the actual cards?
Hey, what do you mean steal? Hey, you only could say them as Scouts. Is that what it is? You stole it.
No, so that's an actual NFL Draft 2025 card that they would fill out and give to the office. As we were walking past, there was a box full of cards, and I just seen Washington on the top, and I was like, "Oh, can I have one of them?" And he just looked at me and went, "Not really." And I just went, "Well, I'm taking it anyway. Just put it in my pocket."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, it's going."
Yeah. To be fair, I think they give out one, but it was like, mate, just like, for example, there's like me and you there so there's two of us there. It's like, what do you mean? What's this about? So obviously,
we'll give you one. Yeah, so I just took one. I did see Josh Conley Jr.'s card from the night before in the box at the end. That was quite cool. And then obviously they were talking to us. The one bit of inside information they gave was that the Chargers were very, very close to missing their pick. They had a trade in the workings with a team, an unnamed team. They wouldn't say who it was. And then it got down to 30 seconds before they finally said, right, we're going to pick. And then by the time the pick was confirmed by the team who was sat there, they had 3 seconds left on the clock, which is just insane. You know what I mean? To think, wow, you've left it that long.
And if they missed that pick, what happened to them? They would keep falling down.
They fall down. They fall down to the next selection, and the next selection goes, and then they have to then make sure that they get their selection in before the time is called for the next one. Because if you miss it,
the thing is, though, is that what would happen is that they would continually make them drop down if everybody put their pick in time.
Oh, very quickly, yeah.
They keep dropping all the way down. They could have dropped out the actual first round.
So Minnesota were the last team to do it in 2013, and they lost 2 spots because of it.
Well, they're losing 2 spots. I mean, they said that it can continually keep going down until last.
Yeah, if they don't get it in, but obviously if you know your pick is your pick, like you were saying, right? Let's just say it was Josh Conley, and you're like, yeah, we're going to take Josh Conley, okay. But the team who's came up before you has chosen Josh Conley. You're then scrambling around trying to find who else you're going to pick, and that's what then causes teams to fumble and go a bit further down. So, yeah, really interesting. We also met a couple of the IPP players, so the International Player Pathway, guys who were trying out for the draft from other sports. Obviously, athletes. They are all athletes, but they were draft eligible. None of them actually got drafted, but post-draft as UDFAs, 3 of them got picked up. The big Fijian lad, Australian guy, rugby league player, he got picked up by the Raiders. Maz got picked up by Carolina Panthers, who's a British lad, and Dante.
Deontay's the one who's a good friend of FA's.
He's the one who's a friend of FA's. Yeah, he got picked up by the Cincinnati Bengals. So best of luck to them 3 lads, because really, really, really good people, and nice to hang around with for, have a bit of a chat with for a good 10, 15 minutes.
I mean, that Australian guy, he was absolutely massive. I mean,
unbelievably big.
I was like, this guy looks about 30. I was like, this guy's too old to be playing. And then he said, how old are you? He went, I'm 19. I was like, no, you're not fucking 19, bro. He was absolutely stacked, man.
6'7", and about what in our terms?
He must be at least 260. He must be at least 260.
Easy.
Like muscular as hell. Like, I was like, oh my god, man, this is.
And then the big Fijian guy was even bigger than him, and he was like a 6 foot. Was he 6'10"?
Oh yeah, I mean, you might below him because he's a bit too tall, isn't he? But
yeah, he was too. I think he was just a bit too big. To be fair,
he's trying to play D end as well. Maybe a bit too much, trying to get low down, spin around the guys. But we'll see. Hopefully he makes it. But yeah.
And then we had loads of time. We had loads of time after that to just doss around and do pretty much nothing. Went to the club shop, had a look around the club shop in Green Bay, saw some people who were around, looked at like all sorts of bit, and then the weather turned and it just got raining and it was awful. The weather just came in and it was disgustingly bad on Friday. Yeah, it was grim.
Oh yeah.
And I got on Pat McAfee because we were bored, and I was sat with my hoodie up, and I just like walked past and didn't realise that Pat McAfee was live, and I just went, "Oh, that's Pat McAfee." And then as I pointed, it was like, "Oh yeah, there he is," and you could see me on the bottom of the live broadcast, and I looked like a bloody homeless man. It was bad, like, because the weather was so bad. I was just like,
you started that as well, because basically once you did that, and we was like, "Oh, no, we need to move out the way," because he obviously moved from you quite quickly on the live telly. Yeah. But then everybody else started hanging out there, didn't they? After that, trying to get on.
Yeah.
So it was like before then, there was nobody doing it, and then as soon as you did it, loads of Green Bay guys started coming over doing all this and whatever else. But yeah, it was yeah, man.
And then we got back and we got into night 2 where it was freezing cold and horrible. Really bad night that. Obviously got
stopped raining though when the time the draft started, but all day it was awful. Yeah.
And then got the commander's hat that you can see on your head there. We've given that. That was on every.
Obviously, and then obviously we got news about our draft coming up in a couple of years, so.
Didn't get a chance to go to the Hall of Fame Deluxe. Unfortunately, it was you wouldn't have even got in it. I don't even think it was open. The Hall of Fame itself. They had Lombardi Trophy. They had all the Super Bowl rings, all that sort of stuff out. But you couldn't actually just go to the Hall of Fame itself. They had that closed off because obviously everything else was just in the parking lot. Yeah, I was looking like a little bit of a peeper. Like, what's he doing? He's peeping out. And then night
like, oh yeah, man.
And then night 2, we waited till pick 61 and took Trey Amos. I mean, what were your thoughts on the pick, Scouse?
Yeah, I was happy with that. He's one of the best corners in the draft. I think he was like ranked 2nd or 3rd in the actual overall corners. Yeah. And to go that low, I mean, that's a steal. That, to be fair, he should have been a first rounder. But I'm happy with that. I mean, at the time again, you know, the same argument's going to be. We both had the same thing. Where's the edge guy? If you don't get an edge right now, we're not going to get one. And basically, we didn't get one, did we? So, but again, I understand the picks from to be fair for most of them, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
So, you know, yes, there's still a glaring hole there, but hopefully, guys can, you know, the free agents. I'm hoping that they're kind of like just keep it solid on that side. You know what I mean? Because obviously, we know we're not going to get no real pass rush from there, but can we just keep it solid? And don't let the guys run on us all day there. But you know, we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. But Trey Amos loved it. I was happy with that pick.
Yeah, I was absolutely. I thought this was our best pick, nailed on starter. But I am hearing things that apparently has a medical red flag and he's had a back injury, and that's what made him drop.
Oh, really?
That's why he's came off people's boards. I don't know if that's absolute bullshit or if it's a relative source, but I have seen it tweeted by various media outlets to say that that's part of the reason why. But the Commanders don't seem bothered about it at all, and nothing's come out to say that that's there. And he's at rookie training camp tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think he's been hurt. I think he played all last season fine.
Yeah, they're saying apparently he had a back injury, but how true, I don't know. But it is. I think it's just with that one.
People just making excuses for missing out on one of the top cornerbacks. When going in the second round, I think they went, shit, we need to make something up here. And, the back problem. That's why we didn't want him, you know. No, just get used to that. You're just inept. That's all, boys.
And then day 3 came. So obviously back into the draft hall again early. No inner circle. We said our goodbyes on night 2 to all of the people who were in the inner circle with us, which was class. The vibes were ace. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, great people to be around. We'll see them all again in September. It was dead good. Not a single person who was either in the Commander's end or in anywhere else was a knobhead, apart from Mr. Can Man with his light up blue lights from the Dallas.
The Dallas guys behind us. Yeah, they were being dicks, man. Yeah, but what do you expect? The fucking Dallas fans.
So on that though, I've got to tell this one. Basically, there was a guy with blue cans. He had like a blue, almost like headlights, and they would light.
You would see him. They'll probably see him on the telly. Like
they'll know who he was.
Dallas is always on telly, you know.
Always on telly. So when they were on telly and they were trying to get round, basically the cameras would turn up. Now normally every other team you'd have one camera, maybe 2 cameramen at best. There was 5 cameras out for Dallas.
Or knocking us out the way. Yeah,
and they're literally knocking people out the way, and we all had to kind of go into one lane. And this guy decides, never spoke to him. He just throws his phone at me, and it bounces off my shoulder. And he's like, "It's on record." So I just picked up his phone and just kicked it. And I just kicked it down the aisle, and it just went rolling down the aisle, and then bounced off the hoardings. And then he just looked at me as if to say, he hasn't just done that. So when you watch it back and you actually watch the film of when the pick is announced, which was the guard Brooks, was it? I think they took.
Was it? Was it the first round?
First round that happened.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Booker.
Yeah.
Booker, even that's the one. You can see his face. He's like, Has he just done that? Like, it's totally bizarre. I was like, yeah, fuck you. You know, if you're gonna ask, at least ask and say, can you film this, please? That's not a problem. You know what I mean? I'll do it for you, but don't just throw your phone at me and expect me to, you know, crack on and do something for you. No, that's not what it's about. So he was probably the only numpty that we came across. But apart from that, it was all good. Day 3, mate, we got there early doors. It was the International Fan of the Year moment. We all got to go out backstage and have a look at the...
that no one saw you.
Yeah, we do the draft walk. So the draft walk was pretty cool. Because Washington is alphabetically last as teams, the Wisconsin marching band, all the NFL staff, all of the International Fans of the Year were lining up the walkway, if you like. And you got to walk up where the players would walk up as prospects. They're all clapping and shouting and hollering. It was awesome to do all that. And then you got to the top and you got to do the man in the mirror moment and flex your hat and have a look. That was pretty cool. And then we all got to go on stage for the opening bit of the draft, where Roger Goodell opened the third day of the draft, and I was stuck behind a tuba, right on the end of the end of the stage.
Even I couldn't see him. Never mind the TV cameras. It was like, where the hell are you? I was like, this guy's honestly not even on the stage.
Wild. So I was just like, oh well, that's it. I can't do much more than that. I'm stuck behind a tuba. And then obviously the day went on. People were getting pics. I know, I saw that. Cheers, Deluxe. I appreciate that. Says I'm still his hero for the phone punt. Yeah, thanks for that. F Dallas, anyway. And yeah, it was weird because some of the International Fans of the Year were getting up and they were getting picks in the 4th round, and a lot of them were getting 4th rounders. And I was thinking to myself, am I going to get 128 here? I don't know. And we met a guy who was sat the other side of us. I can't remember his name for the life of me. The chap who does a lot for Army veterans. He was. Oh yeah. I can't remember his name for the life of me now. Anyway,
I'll get that up because I've got his phone number. He's really
people coming up to him. Yeah, people coming up to him getting photos and stuff. He's an award-winning.
Yeah, he's some sort of author, some sort of like big time guy. I didn't even know who he was. I was like, "Oh, all right, mate. How are you?" You know, he's like
ex-special force. Ex-US Special Forces guy, and you're like, yeah, he's a veteran. I was like, hello, mate.
Yeah, well, you love to talk about that anyway. That's perfect, man. Get you talking to him that way.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. He was a dead nice guy.
He was a cool guy, to be fair.
He said, look, I've got pick 245. And I was like, okay, if you've got pick 245 and they're not going to call me for 128, they better call me for 205. Otherwise, I'm going to be fuming. But it was what it was.
His name's Jason Van Camp.
Jason Van Camp, yeah. So shout out to Jason Van Camp. We enjoyed our time with you. Very, very nice guy. And then obviously, pick 128 comes out. And it's Jalen Lane, wide receiver from Virginia Tech. What were your thoughts on that one, Scouse?
I mean, at the time, I was like, "What the fuck's this? Who's this guy?" I mean, let's be honest. I obviously didn't do my diligence on punt returners. I mean, all I got told was this guy's speedy. I was like, okay, then maybe he's a punt returner. And obviously, you think he's like one of the best punt returners in the draft, so that works out okay. And technically, you need a wide receiver, sure.
4.34 speed, and you've replaced the Army Brown with speed.
I mean, I'm not being funny. 4.34 ended up in the 4th round. I don't understand that. I don't understand why that even happened. You can't teach speed, so those guys always go early. So I'm surprised that he was that quick and. He was doing the 4th. So again, looks like another one, but we've maybe got on a kind of great value for. If that makes sense. I'm happy with that. And after reading about him, I'm happy with it. But at the time, I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" But yeah.
and then it rolls around and it gets to about pick 200, 201, and I'm sitting there and the knot in my stomach starting to get a bit bigger. I'm starting to get nervous. And I'm thinking,
man, you were panicking all day. You were, mate. You were nervous, man, all day.
I know. And then an NFL exec goes, right, come on. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's it then, I'm off. So backstage I go, and obviously people have been coming back and forth all day. And even that front row of the crowd kind of knew what was going on. They were like, yeah, we know where you're going. You're going to Office to announce a pick. And obviously out I come. And then it's so weird because you go out the back, you sit there, and it's like, right, okay, you've got a water, you've got an area of rest where you can sit down and have a drink and whatever you want to do, and then you go around down the back, and then it's like, right, we're down the back, we're waiting for this pick, and then there's a bloke there, prints out the pick. So it comes on a screen, and he's like, right, that's who we've picked. And you're like, okay, great. So then I'm looking and I'm like, right, please don't be a bad name. And then he's like, right, I'll print you the card out. And he prints it out, and it's got phonetically how you spell the pick's name. And then the next thing you know, you're like, right, okay, I'm next to the stage, and there's a woman with a black curtain counting me down from 10. And I'm like, what is actually going on here? And it's like 5, 4, 3, off you go. And it's like, okay. And then you're walking on, and then like it's announcing my name on the bloody in the background. I'm like, how have they announced my name in the background? And I swear to you, mate, all I could see is just a sea of people. There was just nothing. Couldn't see the end of it. I couldn't focus on you or anyone in the crowd. Had no idea. Blaring lights, like literally on a podium, looking at you, hundreds of lights and cameras, and I just thought, I'm not even going to try and adjust the mic. I'm just going to stand there. The mic looks like it's in my head, but I'll just say what I've got to say. And yeah, thank my wife. Thanked obviously the Commanders organisation. Shouted both podcasts out. Yes, sir. We've got another 18 subscribers. Whoop whoop.
Okay.
So shout out to anyone who subscribed because of it. So yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, and then Kane Medrano was the pick. Kane Medrano's father has followed me. He has DM'd me, as has Kane Medrano, and Kane Medrano wants his pick card back. And the question is, if he wants his pick card back, which I have in my hand right here, Kane Medrano, he will need to come on our podcast and do an interview with us. And that's the bottom line. So
okay. So did he agree to that?
He did, yeah. He said, I will come on and speak to you. Man. So I said, cool, brilliant. So yeah, it doesn't have to be long. Just come on, tell us your story, tell us how training camp's going when you've got a spare 5 minutes, and then we'll go from there. It'll be cool. So Kane, it's on you. Come out and see us. Get on the show, and yeah, come and speak to us, and I can give you your car back in September. And then yeah, that was that. The anxiety then goes. You're off stage. It's like right back to seeing Scouse, seeing everyone else. Everyone's clapping, dabbing me up. There was a really cool Commanders fan in the crowd who was on the front row. He was like, "Oh, that's amazing! I can't believe you just done that pick." And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool." And his mum was like, "Oh, you know, this is like, I can't even remember the kid's name, but he's like, he loves it." And he was in a Jaden jersey, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, it's cool. So I said, "Here you go. Put my chains on," because he said, "Oh, can I wear your chains?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I had the big W chain. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I said, "Hold the pick cards." I said, "And get your mum's phone." So I took a picture of him with the pick card, and then I just said, "Look, mate, you just keep the chains." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Just keep them. It's fine. Don't worry about it." I said, "But I want that card back." And he was like, "Yeah, okay, fair trade." So I got the card back, and obviously he got my chains, which was pretty sweet, and it made his day. And I thought, you know what? I don't know who this kid is, but if it can make someone else's day, then happy days. Do you know what I mean? I've just had the time of my life. And then yeah, man, we hung around. We didn't do the very, very end picks. We didn't see Mr. Irrelevant. We probably left with about 4 or 5 picks to go, didn't we? I think by that point we just had enough.
Just try and get out of the actual crowds, man, because the crowds
were so big. I mean, it was 225,000 people on day 3 Scouse, which is just insane amount of people. So yeah, just to think, wow, you know.
The thing is, as well, is that it was actually meant to be smaller. So, for example, you know, I think it was Hog Farmer Joe. I think he was saying that last year in Detroit there was 30 seats for the inner circle, but this year's it was 14. There was 14 because I counted the seats. I was like, it doesn't look like 30 seats. The count said it was 14, so basically you halved it. And one, obviously, Lee was sitting with us. So, you know, so it was really only 13 actual fans who were actually there. So it was kind of, so it was like a kind of cutting off type of thing. So, and they also still managed to get 600,000 people in, you know what I mean? Which is crazy considering that Detroit had 700,000 and everyone said that'll never be beaten, which, to be fair, Green Bay nearly did it. And they're like not even half the size of Detroit as a city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, population of 112,000 and 600,000 people over 3 days was just insane.
I'm surprised.
And I'm not trying to be funny, but I would honestly say 90% of that crowd was Green Bay Packers.
Oh yeah. It was yeah, man. I think like every single person in that town who wasn't working that day was in there. You know what I mean? Like it was. No, the mad for it, aren't they? I mean, I understand why as well. One, obviously, Packers have got a great history and all the rest of it, and but also there's nothing else there. So you've literally got one sports team out of every sport. That's at a professional level. Besides, like I think there's like a League Two MLS team, I think, close by. That's about it. Who cares about that? So
it was insane, like absolutely insane.
So everyone's hugely packaged, and to be fair, the people were so nice. Like they couldn't welcome you enough. Where are you from? Where's your accent? Oh my god, like really blowing their minds of that. It really was blowing their minds of like how many different people was there, and kind of just meeting new people and our stories, and because they always asking us, weren't they? Like, oh, where are you from? And why are you here? And obviously, what team you are, and obviously you can see.
It was the guy when we were walking with Dan and his son. Dan was the Rams fan, international fan of the year from Australia, and we're walking up, and this lady just goes, "Right, I'm sick of this. Who is this Ifty guy? He seems to play for every team." And I was like, "No, love, it's abbreviated to International Fan of the Year," and she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes more sense."
I don't know
what so. She's like, everyone's walking around with the same jersey on with 24 on. She's like, this guy's been around every team. Like, who the hell's this guy? It was funny. And then we met an older couple, and she was like, yeah, I'm 64. And I was like, all right, cool. Nice to meet you. And this was her husband, Joe, and he was like in his 70s. And she's like, yeah, my son gets his season tickets this year. And I was like, oh, brilliant. She's like, we put him on the list when he was 2 days old because that's the earliest you can put him on the list for season tickets. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, how old is he? She's like, he's 41.
41 years to get a season ticket, man. And to be fair, mate, the seats are gaff.
Seats are horrible. They're not even seats.
It's a fucking metal bench.
It's a bench. It's a metal bench.
And you're paying thousands for that. The newer part where there's a bit more like where the Jumbotron is, there's like green seats there, actual seats. But for the 90% of the stadium, it is literally these horrible
bleachers. It's bleachers, basically.
Yeah, they're called bleachers. But you had like metal fucking seats. Not even the seats, like a metal bench connected together. It's like, what? It
was just got a painted.
For a seat like that.
Yeah. It's just got a painted number, 32, 33.
Yeah, you're waiting 40 years for that. You're waiting 40 years for that.
Unbelievable. And I was like, how much is it? Oh, 3,500. I was like, you're paying $3,500 to sit in a bleacher.
OT gets probably even more expensive.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. But
craziness, man.
Not unbelievable that there's 152,000 people on the waiting list for Green Bay season tickets.
That's more than a whole Green Bay.
Yeah, and they get sold out every single game, which is just insane.
Yeah, season tickets you can't get hold of, and then he said there's the odd one or two you can get like on like singular tickets. That's like obviously visiting fans like us trying to get there or whatever.
Yeah, so you're saying resale wise, they will resell the tickets online for visiting supporters or whatever, but they have never actually sold at the box office a single seat ticket since 1932.
Yeah.
Which is just
there's no point in having a box office guy sitting there in the box. You know what I
mean? Because there's no one there.
No point.
Insane.
Easy to job that one if you get that one, isn't it?
And then we were kind of bushed. Didn't do a lot after that. Said our goodbyes. Left Green Bay, and then coming back to Green Bay through the airport. We were welcomed by like one guy who worked on security, an old man, and it was like, all right, you're going through security, and there was loads of like pecan pies and stuff like that out, and people were just talking to you saying, look, thank you for coming. The economy is going to go through the roof.
The airport, man. It's at the airport.
And you're like, hang on a minute, what? And it's like, yeah, we've done all these chocolates and all these like different pies for you to eat, and we were like, okay,
this is cool. Stuff. Yeah, it was.
Everybody was
good, just like really fucking nice.
They were ace. They were ace. Yeah, they were ace as well.
Like, wow. And again, it's just nice. It's just niceness. It's little things like that make the difference. You know what I mean? Like you can feel at Green Bay that there's a true community spirit there. It isn't just another big city with a football team, or you know what I mean. It feels more than that. You know what I mean? Like everyone rallies around the Packers, but they're just really nice people. Really nice people.
Yeah. Midwest hospitality has got something to say. I tell you, it is right up there. I mean, I swear to you, it is wild. Fans bring their own cushions with backs that clamp on the bleachers. Oh, okay, fair enough, Deluxe. I didn't know that.
That was pretty awful because I'd be gutted, man, if that was my seat. I was like, yeah.
Smashed in between like sardines, like that. No. Which was kind of like...
metal.
kind of like our plane journey back. What a nightmare that was. But
yeah.
yeah, awful. So two changes on the way back, one at Minnesota and then one at Amsterdam Schiphol. And the flight from Minnesota to Amsterdam was awful. So we rocked up to get onto the plane and the woman said, oh, there's a seat change. You've got to now sit in these seats. And we were like, okay, because apparently the bit in the middle that goes down was broken, so we couldn't sit in our seats. And there was a rather snooty Dutch woman who was sat in the window seat, who wanted to have a foot up, who knocked your phone over every 2 minutes, wanted to go to the toilet more and more and more. Took about 10 minutes in the toilet. So because she was in the toilet, we all have to get up because you can't, like, you'd have her crawling over the top of all of us. Disaster. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to fly like that again. I really don't. Business class, please, or premium economy.
I think you got to get hold of Josh and just say, look, mate, you need to either give us your private plane, like you do to the rookies, or at least pay to put us in first class, bro.
Yeah, do you not know who I am? Alumni now.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think so. But yeah, really, really, really good time. Really, really good time. And would I do a draft again? Absolutely no question. It was fantastic.
Speaking of draft, going again.
Well, that's what we were going to get to. So the next bit of news,
2027, baby.
is I've got a couple of questions on the QA and the draft. Canada Mike said, amazing appearance announcing what could well prove to be a brilliant pick. And it's fair to say you did everyone and yourself proud. But what was the reason for the shout out to your family and not Canada Mike? So yeah, cheers for that, Canada Mike. And
exactly.
Then Burrows... Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing, Canada. I was thinking the same thing.
Burrows came out with one. So he is at Washington, UK fan, also host of the Bunk podcast and completed it. So go and subscribe to them. He said, with games in Spain, UK, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, what's next? Keep games overseas, or with every year do we get closer to a full-time NFL team outside of the USA? Now, that is a similar question to what I wanted to actually ask Goodell, but I couldn't do it. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're getting closer to a team outside of the US, or are we just going to keep going down this route?
I don't think they will. I really don't. No. I thought originally they would. I think, how well it was going over the UK and they'll sell out every single time. And but then when they started to expand it further and further, and they're still selling out everywhere going forward, I just don't see it being feasible. What they're doing right now, they're making shed loads of money off it. So why change it while it's working? So I just don't see this happening forever, to be honest. But at the very least, another 10, 15 years. I didn't think Goodell, because someone asked, not like that, but he was talking about some sort of franchises, and he seemed a little bit cold with the kind of the answer he gave.
Yeah, he was talking about, it was very politician-y answer. It was more around each team's now got their markets that they're interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's the United Arab Emirates, so we're kind of after that Dubai money. And I mean, is that where we go next? Is that the step out as another country?
Well, you like to think they've got stadiums there. No, they built off.
Well, they have, yeah.
Years back, didn't they? Yeah, so
exactly. Qatar's got stadiums, that sort of places. Obviously, Saudis can knock a boxing event up in 10 minutes, so they can do it. So, I mean, I think that's Middle East is probably the next gambit, and obviously with
the next gambit is Australia, isn't it? I mean, that's what they're hammering with the Rams. I mean, that's happening next year, and according to Dan, like you mentioned, he said it's next 3 years straight.
3 years,
that the Rams are going to be actually playing in Australia, so as home teams. So again, they're just pushing it to the whole world, man, and it's cool. But is it going to help anybody get an international actual franchise out there? I just don't see it.
And then you had the Steelers. So Tom, the Steelers International Fan of the Year, great
nice
guy.
Guy.
Him and his wife were brilliant, lovely people. He's obviously said, look, without trying to be funny, I am the poster boy for the Steelers at the minute, and I have to mention Croke Park and Ireland every time. And sure enough, when he was on stage, that's exactly what he mentioned. And this goes back to why I think we weren't on TV, because it wasn't just me. Kelly from the Browns was the only fan who was on TV. And I think that was in case they took Shedeur Sanders, that it was live on TV. which they did take Shedeur Sanders, but not with her pick on day 3. All of the other UK fans, and there was 5 of us who had won from the UK. Every single one of us was either on an advert or a break, or it wasn't live in studio and you couldn't see us. And I genuinely believe that is because they think they have cracked the market here over in the UK, because it's constant sellout. They've had season tickets for years in the past for people. They know the market works over here. Funnily enough, to back that theory up, just a conspiracy theory, all of the Australian picks were live. The Irish pick was live. They went to Ireland, they went to Australia, and every other fan from fan base wasn't live. There was a few Germans. I get that, because again they're playing in Germany, and the
still
Spanish
trying to break
fan
that market, aren't they? I mean, they're doing well.
The Spanish fan from the Dolphins, who he got overall fan of the year. Oh, okay. I wonder why that is. It's because it's in Madrid, Spain this year. What a surprise! Anyway,
do you think it'll be us? Think it'll be us who'd be playing away at Madrid?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that the rumours that it could be us playing away in Madrid. I've also heard strong rumours that it's the Bengals. Obviously, fixtures are announced next Wednesday, is it? Or next Thursday? I can't remember the exact date.
I think it is, mate. 14th, whatever that is.
Yeah, so... Yeah, we'll be potting and have the fixtures next week. Next Wednesday, yeah. So we'll know then exactly who's playing who, which will be very interesting to see. They're building up a relaunch of NFL World, NFL Europe type thing, in my opinion, says Deluxe. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I just don't think it's going to be sustainable to have a team or a franchise or a league. I mean, I wanted to ask Roger Goodell when I was there, like, in 2017, you said that there was going to be a similar thing to NFL Europe and that we were edging towards a franchise. And then in 2020, you dialed it, you doubled down on it again and said, we are getting closer to having that. And it was believed to be the Jags at the time. And obviously now we know the Jags are building their stadium up, so it's not going to be the Jags. And then it went, as you said, it just went very politician-y, very cold, and nobody really said, he didn't really say a lot on it. And it was like, okay. I mean, what I did like was the guy...
I mean, silence is deafening, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, the guy who was the Detroit Lions fan of the year, the actual overall fan of the year, not an international guy. He is an international guy, but he's a Millwall fan in football terms. And I remember seeing his picture around the socials, and he was one of the guys who stood up and said to him, we've got loyal fans who've bought international season tickets for years who are now getting screwed over because they're not getting their seats again this year, and it's now become a lottery. And
that's right. Yeah, you took the ticket off, didn't you?
Yeah. And he did not have a thing to say on that, did he?
Well, the only thing he said was, I didn't know about that, but I thought it was maybe it could be about getting other people in to get to watch the games rather than just like the diehards. Get other people in as well to enjoy the game. New fans, that's all they care about, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I get that, but when
I get it, but it's harsh. It is harsh on people who've been there.
When you're looking at 10,000, 10,000 day one diehards, because that's how many season tickets there are. About 10,000 out of what's Wembley hold? No, it's Wembley. It's 100, isn't it?
90.
Yeah, okay, 90. But no, it's genuinely about 10. And then what you want to do is fuck the corporate off. But I won't do that because that's where the money's made, isn't it? So, you know what I mean? It's just, so that was pretty much it. So, yeah, Andy, to answer your question, mate,
no.
I don't know where we expand to. I don't think there'll be a franchise, but I do think they'll expand into other markets. Africa could be a possibility.
If the money's there, there's got to be the money. The money's got to be there, man. And the South Africa maybe a bit more rich of a country, more than say other African countries. But besides that, I can't see being anywhere besides South Africa if they're going to go.
And that is a journey and a half. To be fair.
And that's what I mean. It's brutal to the fans who actually would go to these places, who would travel. Because some guys will do that. They will have that as their holiday. So many times when I used to go to the Wembley games at the beginning, it was obviously loads of Americans, and they were saying, we come over here to get a chance to see London, and we come to see a game of our team, So, and they make it a big thing, 2 weeks out there, etc., etc. And that's right. That's what you should do, really. And But again, people will just do the same thing as South Africa, I suppose. They'll just travel and go to safaris or whatever else that's out there, But
And
still,
speaking of drafts and going back to the drafts, you mentioned it just before. DC has been given the draft for 2027. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I genuinely thought that this would be kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing, getting into the draft this year as fans. And now it's like, well, 2 years down the line, it's going to be at DC. Well, I need to be there for that. So yeah, man. I mean, so it's awesome. It's amazing, isn't it, when you got actual real ownership? You can get things done. They were talking about this last year when they, potentially you might have the draft, blah, 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 but didn't really say much more. And then it's like, we got the stadium. Bang. Now we've got the draft as well. So again, that's going to promote the new stadium, isn't it? It's going to be maybe half built by then, who knows? But yeah, it's exciting times, man. It's exciting times to be a Washington fan.
It's a massively exciting time to be a Washington fan. Now, my cynicism and my cynical head gets on here, and I look at it and I go, well, hang on a minute. 2027, you're hosting the draft. Now, I watched Fred Smoot on the command centre and Logan Paulson and them talking about this, and he said, look, if everybody spends $100 and you got 1 million people, that's $1 billion. And I'm like, right, yeah, you're right, that's $1 billion. Now,
is it?
It's
100 million, isn't it?
100 million in our terms, $1 billion in American terms. Yes, not 1,000 million, as we would have, but it's like
that's $1 billion, isn't it? 1,000 million's $1 billion.
Yes, in our terms, but in American money, it's different. As in, like the way that they count a billion. $1 billion is different. For us, it's 1,000 million. But yeah, I know it done over 3 days. That's a lot of money that's coming into the economy, and I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, this money that they're trying
instead
to
of $1,000,
$1,000 a person. Sorry, my apologies. I said 100.
That would make it.
Yeah, a bill. That's right. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at $1 billion coming into the coffers of DC's city, how much of that money is going back into the coffers for the government of DC? How much money did they need to find for the stadium rebuild?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. I wonder what's going to make the money there for DC. Actually, the government to be able to afford to pay $800 million towards the infrastructure.
I don't know. I don't know, Scouts. Can you think of anything that could happen?
What's that do? Man? That's business, eh? That's business, and that's what Trump's good at. At the end of the day, he's a businessman, and he realizes. Yeah. He probably, that's why Goodell was in the Oval Office with him a few days ago, saying, look, man, how are we going to get this money? Well, the draft will probably make $1 billion. Then we'll have to draft here then. Okay, Goodell, you know what I mean? And then he's not going to say no to the president, is he? So
that's exactly what he's done. I think Josh Harris has gone to Goodell and said, listen, I need a favour. This is what I need you to do. Yeah. And then we can get the stadium done. Okay, we'll kind of work it out that way. And by the way, as an NFL franchise, as an NFL office, you won't have to pay anything because we can get a loan from the NFL to pay for a stadium. I think it's $500 million you're allowed to borrow.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll do that. I'm sure they'll do that.
So
yeah, Trump's a failed businessman, but still a multi-billionaire. So I would work that one out.
Inheritance money,
because he gave away he went bankrupt on some of his businesses.
He did. Everyone goes bankrupt in businesses at times, but
when they're not going well, and then you just change the name to something else, and then the back again.
Yeah, it's not a politics show. Let's not go down there.
Well, just trying to make.
I know, but is it a good thing to for the draft to come to DC? Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think has it ever been at DC before.
I'm not sure if it has.
I don't think it ever has. Especially maybe like 1930s or something. Where they're just sitting in a hotel room or something. But
especially if you think about the iconic area it's the nation's capital. It's the iconic monuments. It's the it's going around the various malls, going around all of the museums, seeing
exactly, man. There's a lot of culture. There's a lot of culture and history. The Martin Luther King's memorials. There's loads of different memorials there. It's a really nice city to go to. To be honest,
it's a beautiful
I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I mean, for example, I hate New York. Why? It's too busy. It's too many people there. DC's the actual capital, and it's actually much more laid back. I know they're still busy, don't get me wrong, but it's no one. It doesn't feel anything like New York does.
It's clean as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's clean, and it's nice to walk about. That square that we went to. It was the first year we went when Josh Harris just took over. Was it then when he was in that thing, or the second year, whatever it was? No, just all around there. It's just really nice place. It's just DC is a really nice place to go to.
I think it's going to be unbelievable for the economy. It's going to be unbelievable for people who live locally. It's going to be unbelievable for Commanders fans and unbelievable for the NFL.
Just the traffic will kill people off. But
traffic will be horrendous. Yeah, absolutely. But there isn't going to be a B&B or an Airbnb anywhere within 10, 15, 20 miles of of there. Jesse, I think we might be giving you a call, bud.
I drive 3 hours from his house every time.
Do you know what?
You're going to get somewhere to stay.
You wouldn't be able to find anywhere to stay. I genuinely don't think you will. I mean,
that will be a problem.
It was quite weird. Like, obviously with Green Bay, you come in on the Wednesday or the Tuesday night, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm early. There wasn't much going on.
Mate. It wasn't like it wasn't full. It just didn't feel it was full.
It was completely full. But you just like. I mean, how much was it for 3 nights? $1,500 or something that they were charging?
Yeah, they definitely pumped up the prices.
So yeah, it's going to be.
Probably as well.
It's going to be an expensive do.
Oh yeah, and DC's an expensive place anyway. So to be trying to give it, like, live at large up there, it's going to cost a lot of dollar.
Exactly. Canada Mike's asked us a question. He said, with 2027 draft happening in Washington, do you feel more UK fans would come to that trip with you than opening day of 2027 season? Or for those that can manage it both, are both trips happening? Yeah, it's a ritual now to go to the home opener. Both trips will probably be happening. I would expect more people to probably go.
I don't know how many people would go, to be fair, because it just depends, Yeah, I mean, we've got a few people. We probably have 10 to 15 people that we probably know definitely would go to the game, and would go to the draft as well. But again, it's kind of one of them. If you're stuck at the back somewhere, you're probably not going to want to be standing there like a tit. You can't see anything.
Look, if I was stood in the crowd,
like
halfway back, that'd be horrendous. I'd be like, nah, I don't really fancy this.
Yeah, because you just stood there.
Being in a circle, yeah, amazing.
Nice. You sit down, and then you get the TV, TV time a little bit. Yeah, that's where you want to be. But if you're not there, then it's a bit more of a ball ache. But hopefully, then you might actually be on telly. Whoever announces picks that year will be on TV, because it's going to be about Washington. You know what I mean? And see what I mean. So that would be nice.
Bit of a long wait though when you're picking 32, so you know what I mean. It's
yeah. Wait to the end.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah, I hope so, man.
In other news, then, Scouts, we'll go through. We signed kicker Matt Gay on a 1-year deal. On a 1-year deal, fully guaranteed, $4.25 million, and we have also, as a reciprocal move, released kicker Zane Gonzalez. Thoughts on signing Matt Gay?
I mean, he's an upgrade. He is an upgrade. It's a lot of money for 1 year, though. I mean, if this guy is as good as $4.5 million that we're going to pay for him for 1 year, surely he's worth a longer deal, a 2-3 year deal, rather than just a 1 year deal. If you're not, why would you not trust him? He's going to pay him $4.5 million for 1 year. So that doesn't make sense to me. That kind of money for him for just a 1 year deal. You're better off going for a 2 to 3 year deal, because you obviously got loads of
cap space still.
No, not those cap space. I'll just kind of like actual, just kind of like a lot of confidence in him. He wouldn't pay him that money otherwise. No,
it's weird
because
got
a number for everybody. Do you know what I mean? He's got a number for everybody, and that's quite high for a kicker for 1 year. So for me, it's
it's a bit strange, because looking at it, obviously. Yeah, I understand the move that you need a solid kicker, as you said, for quite a long time. Points make prizes.
They put points on the board, man. Points don't win. It's simple as that.
And then I think to myself, well, hold on a minute. I get that it's not a huge amount of money to pay $4.25 million. It's not.
For a kicker, it is. It's actually the most ever, actually, for a 1 year deal.
Really?
So, yeah. a 1-year deal is actually one of the highest ever. So this is what I'm understanding. It's like if you're going to pay that kind of money, you've got a lot of confidence in the guy. Why haven't you locked him down for 2-3 years? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. And the other thing that's weird is his kicking rate over 50 isn't actually great. He was 3 of 6 for the Colts last year over 50. Which
that's Gonzalez and Siebert level. Let's face it. So what's the difference here? This guy doesn't miss extra points. Okay, nice, but $4.5 million.
I mean, maybe with an upgrade on the offensive line, maybe you're looking at that and saying, you know what I mean. Maybe you're saying to yourself, well, okay, I'm going to push this through, and if you're inside 50, as Will Miles says, if you're pushing it in front of 50, you're then going, well, hang on a minute. At 45, that's kind of where you want to be. You don't want to be any further out than that. And with the offensive line upgrades and Jaden being able to throw the ball, how many times were we actually over 50 yards last season?
Well, yeah, I mean,
wasn't many.
Obviously, that's probably the thought process from Peters to go, okay, we need a guy who's rock solid from 45 inwards, and Gay is solid from 45 inwards. I think, who was it? There we go. Yeah, Will just mentioned he was 100% from inside 50. So,
yeah.
That's the kind of kicker I want to see. But 100% within 50, and obviously we shouldn't hopefully be hitting 50-yard pluses, because our offense is that good. So,
exactly.
So I get the point, but again, why only 1 year? I mean, yeah, the looks corrects me a little bit. He goes, it's the most guaranteed for a single year, but not most paid for a year.
No, because that's why I looked a bit odd at you then, because I was thinking, well,
but the thing is, but that's the most guaranteed money for a kicker in 1 year. I mean, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So, you could have got McManus at $3.5 million for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it was.
Yeah, and actually, he was okay. he was pretty.
There was nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong. All that shit went away. Nothing wrong with him.
Numbers have been released. Yes, I did see this. I don't know who this guy is from. Obviously, Southeast Missouri. 6'7" wide receiver coming in tomorrow for a tryout. 80-inch reach. I mean, that is insane. You're absolutely right, Will.
You better have good hands. I mean, if he hasn't,
exactly. Has he got good hands and can he run a route? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at 6'7", you're going to hope that's going to be like red zone only type of production guy, big body receiver that we don't have. That's one thing we don't really have. I know you could say Noah Brown's a big body receiver, but he's not 6'7". He's 6. I think he's 6'3", 6'4", but he's slim, isn't he? This guy's going to be like 80-inch reach. Like an absolute basketball player. So let's see if he can actually run around.
maybe it's that Fijian lad who was defensive end and they've just changed him around.
Move him to tight end. To be fair, I would move him to tight end because he has more of a chance.
Unbelievable.
As long as you catch a ball, obviously. But yeah. Oh yeah. Will again. This guy had multiple 100-yard games and multiple TD games. It was a very low level, but you don't usually get much from a wide receiver above 6'5".
Yeah, you're right.
You're right, but yeah, again, low level. I mean, as I say, even if I think there is one space left in the receiver room to get. I do think there is one. Now, if from a potential walk-on like this guy or somebody else, I think there's definitely one more space available. Like to truly get in the squad, but yeah. So let's hope he's got more than we think.
Maybe next week's show we do undrafted free agents, who we've signed, how much we've signed, that they've signed for, that sort of thing. But because right now I haven't even looked at it, to be honest with you, that's one thing I haven't really seen. Numbers wise for the season, then Will Harris is taking 3, Michael Gallup's taking 12, Josh Johnson 14, Matt Gay 16. Jonathan Jones 31, Javon Kinlaw 52, Nate Herbig 53, Jacob Martin 55, Foster Sorrell 79, Dietrich Wise 91, Eddie Goldman 97, Josh Connolly Jr. is taking 72, Trey Amos is 23, Jalen Lane's 83.
At least he wasn't 24 or 25. That'd have been bad. Getting one of those dudes.
Kane Madrano's taking 56 and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is 32. I don't care what number jersey they're wearing, but I ain't going to go out and start buying a Josh Johnson jersey with 14 on it. Let's just wait and see until camp's finished before these numbers become permanent, and then we know, right, yeah, that is actually what their number's gonna pay. So it's it's one of them. And the final bit of news is that Chicago have have made a pope, but still haven't produced a 4,000 yard quarterback.
Wait.
But a bum.
Is this
Anyway.
the first American Pope?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's normally Italian. It's not normally Italian guy, isn't it? He just become Pope.
No, they're from all over the place. We've had a German, we've had a bloody.
Oh, really?
I mean,
okay.
yeah, he's this guy's from Peru. Actually, he exiled himself from the US about 20 years ago. They all speak Italian and they've got multiple languages. So, yeah, they're from all over the place. But let's not talk about popes on here because it's gone from football to politics to religion. It's I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
man,
not
you start talking about these. These are very heated debates here, bro.
I just thought it was Cardinal Snoop Dogg was smoking some weed. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, do you see those memes of him with his bag of weed, and it's got like the big white smoke coming out.
The big smoke coming out. The top there. Brilliant. And there was genuinely one of the Cardinals had a bucket hat on. I thought that was awesome. He had a white bucket hat on. I was like, yes. And then obviously someone dubbed up an AI image of Liam Gallagher with a bucket hat on in a Cardinals uniform and said biblical across the top.
Yeah. Just pick up your Brad Johnson jerseys if you want a Josh Johnson one.
There you go. Maybe let's do that.
He hasn't got one of them, mate. Come on, he doesn't know who buddy Brad Johnson is.
Yeah, Gabe as well. Yeah, I hope Gabe does ball out tomorrow, Miles. I hope he does well. All rooting for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is with Gabe as well.
Story.
Yeah, it is a great story, but that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I just don't want people to put loads of expectation on him because he isn't Sean. Do you know what I mean? Like,
correct.
This guy's undrafted for a reason, you know, and he wants to come here. He wants to play safety. He wants to emulate his brother, and that's all great. But you've got to be good enough. You know what I mean? And you just don't put the expectation that he's going to be the next Sean because let's face it, no one's been Sean. So. Just keep that expectation down for him, you know. Even if he makes the team, just keep it down, you know.
There's room in that safety room.
Yeah, there's room. There's definitely room.
Definitely.
Of course, you've definitely got a Brad Johnson jersey. Yeah.
All right, okay. Steady share a pick. Okay, nice one. I like that. There you go. Our fan questions then. So Canada Mike says, while you fully appreciate the experience you had, how do you feel NFL teams could make it even better for any of the international fans of the year? Now, I do want to bring this up, and we'll talk a little bit about it just slightly. Toby, the Ravens fan. Oh my God!
Yeah, he got.
Yeah, I mean, this guy had travelled 36 hours from Brisbane, Australia, and you weren't there, but I met him in the lobby. On the Wednesday night. So this is after the Q&A session, probably 11 o'clock at night. He's packed up his gear and he's sitting on a bench with his wife. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm going home. Like, what do you mean you're going home? He's like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. So basically what they did was they announced him as the International Fan of the Year on a Zoom call and said, you've won, blah, blah, blah. If there's anything you need, reach out to us. So he did. He reached out to him and said, look, my wife's not an American football fan. Can I just get a T-shirt with Ravens on or a hoodie or anything, a jersey? It doesn't matter what it is. I'll just take it and she can wear it because obviously in the inner circle, you've got to wear fan gear. You know what I mean? You've got to present yourself and be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And they said, oh, yeah, no problem at all. And then he got no contact at all from the Ravens. And then with 6 weeks to go before the draft, he thought, I better just email them just to say, look, is there any chance I can get this T-shirt? And they wrote back a one-word email with no.
Fuck yeah, but I mean...
And then he turned up and his jersey wasn't there. It was slung in a corner. Which was ridiculous. So, there was no fan rep turned up for him. I mean, we had Lee, who obviously got everything sorted within 10 minutes. And then he's sitting there quite depressed. And I thought, I'm not doing this. So I reached out to Lee, who was still in the hotel, and said, listen, is there anything you can do to kind of help Toby out? And sure enough, she was straight on, emailing, ringing people. And within 25 minutes, he had tickets for all 3 days. He had the itinerary. He had everything. And I was like, she even went across the road to Dick's Sporting Goods the following morning and bought his wife a hoodie. Now that is like, and this is what we're doing for our little brother up the top of the DMV. Do you know what I mean? It's always good to look after your little brother, but let's be fair. What the hell is that about? You know, why would you treat fans like that, or treat any fan like that? It is ridiculously bad. And then you've got the other side of the coin, Scouse, which was the Tennessee Titans fan of the year.
Yeah. He got everything.
How do you explain?
Well, he got everything, didn't he? He got because obviously, Tennessee went down to. Where did he go? When did he go?
He went to Nashville. Yeah,
he went to Nashville, and he went to the kind of Jack Daniel's distilleries. Got loads of bottles of whiskey, loads of different things like that. Comes back, and he's still moaning.
He moaned at absolutely everything. I mean, this is how. Yeah, it was a fan.
If you had something that basically Tennessee didn't give, so say it was, I don't know, for example, just say a hat a different hat or different style hat, and he didn't get one for the Tennessee, but like, what the fuck's my one and all this? He was like proper kicking off, wasn't he? Like, like, wait a minute, you've had more than fucking anybody else, and you're still moaning. And didn't even stick it out, did he? He did his
well, that's what I was going. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. He got a $500 bottle of whiskey that was personally engraved to him with the Tennessee Titans logo on, which I thought was awesome.
I didn't know all this stuff.
He turned up at the training facility at the Titans, and all of his name was all over the stadium, on the Jumbotron, his photo, everything saying, welcome, International Fan of the Year. Got to go all the way around all the facilities, do all the tour, all that sort of stuff, which is awesome.
He met players and coaches, didn't he, as well?
Players, coaches, everything, the whole shebang. And then he drives, he obviously gets flown into the Green Bay. He's the most miserable Australian fella I've ever met in my life. He was proper Mick Dundee almost. If anyone's watched Crocodile Dundee, middle-aged bloke, and then he sits there and says, "Oh yeah, because the Detroit Lions guy was a German fella. He got a little fan towel. That's what it was.
Oh, it was a fan towel.
Yeah, and they just said, "Oh, here's a fan towel," and we were like, "Oh, nice one. You know what I mean? You got a fan towel," and he was like, "Yeah, winging it round," and he was like, "Where's ours?" And I was like, well, and then the Eagles guy, his girlfriend or partner, who just said, I can't hold my tongue anymore. And she was an Aussie as well. She ripped him a new one and was like, you've had more than any other fan you've ever got, blah, 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 and started going at him. And I was like, wow, okay, this is going to kick off. And then the next day, on the third day, because the Titans were picking early, he knew he got a third round pick to announce. So he announced the third round pick, which was like the first pick of the day, and then just disappeared. And I said, well, where are you going? Oh, we're going to the casino for lunch. See ya.
Yeah, he never came back.
And that was it. Never came back. And then the thing that pissed me off even more is the NFL team, as in the actual NFL production crew, were looking around going, oh, where's the Titans? Where's the Titans? Because they had more picks and they wanted him to go back on stage or his mate to go on stage, and they just did one to the casino. And they ended up having to pull a Titans fan out of the crowd to do a pick, which is insane. And then you had seat fillers all the time. So, and because they'd gone, it looked like it was empty on the TV, which is not what they wanted to see, that it was empty on the TV. So they were filling it with random people. So you had Green Bay fans sitting next to you. It was bizarre, wasn't it? Yeah. And I was like, you dickhead. But anyway, there's always one in there who spoils
That's what I mean. And the look mentioned there, trying to be messing about, going, he's one of the very few fans. They didn't want to lose him. To be honest, mate, I don't want fans like that.
No.
If I was the Titans, I wouldn't want him. I'd rather lose that one fan, to be honest. I mean, he got something like real. I mean, we had a good one once we got there, but I mean, he had everything given on a gold fucking platter. Do you know what I mean? And he still wasn't happy with it. Joker.
Yeah, absolute joker. And he was walking around like he's Bertie Big Bollocks. He was
I am. Yeah, so
there's always one. Yeah. There's always one.
There's always one, man. So Bo mentions here, Smoot is friends with the Taylor family and posted a question. What happens if Gabe makes the team and then asks for 21?
Oof.
Well, instantly, no.
Yeah,
I think 21 should be off limits to anybody, even his brother.
Agreed.
And you've got to be damn good. I mean, and even if you want to give him a potential chance on that, it's like, you better be fucking nearly as good as him. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to live up to the 21. So why even try and put the pressure on yourself? You got to get through fucking camp first. You know, take a step by step, man, before trying to take his brother's number. That was craziness.
It's like Abdul Carter asking for Lawrence Taylor's jersey.
Oh, that was insane, wasn't it? Oh yeah.
No.
Look, was he 52? Did he war?
Yeah, I think so.
Taylor. 52 or 56, something like that. And he was like, I mean, I listened to a couple of Giants fans pods, and they were going fucking nuts, saying, "Who the fuck's this guy think he is? He's done nothing. He's done nothing in the NFL." And Taylor's like, they're untouchable. You know what I mean? Like he is there untouchable. A bit like Sean Taylor for us. He's one of the untouchables. You don't fuck around with stuff like that. And people are thinking they're going to come in and take that number. No, you're not. You're fucking not good enough. You've got to be fucking elite for 5-6 years before you even think about getting one of those legendary numbers for any team.
36. Will Miles said it, and so is Deluxe. Give him 36 if he does make the team, because 21 obviously is officially retired. I completely agree with that. Maybe if he wants to use that number, I don't know what his number at school.
Here we go.
Probably
Will,
21.
It was 56 for Taylor, and then he tried 11 from Sims. He won in the first Super Bowl. Who's this guy think he is, man? A guy gets stuck by Connolly. That's the guy who he is. So I you know what I mean? Like, and this guy's thinking he's gonna fucking walk around like he's a stud already. Like, come on, lad, you got to earn that, man. You got to earn that fucking number. You know, you can't just be given those ones.
Scott G's got a question for us. He says, "Do you think the tongue episode on Thursday night is why both NFL Network and ESPN gave you no love on day 3?"
Potentially. I think it didn't help me. It didn't help me. You definitely didn't help the cause with that, to be fair.
I mean, I don't know why I did this. I just basically stuck my tongue out and went for some reason. But as it stopped like that, it stopped on the advertisement, and all you saw was my fat tongue hanging out of my mouth. But then it started trending on Twitter, and it was #TheTongue. And then NFL 25. And I actually had 3 people turn up and say, "Can I have a photo with you?" And it was called The Tongue. So I had to go, I was like, oh my God. Like, this is
exactly, man.
thing.
You should have done the tongue on when you did your pick as well.
I know
it wasn't technically live on the telly, but that still would have been like hashtag by the NFL, the tongue is back out. Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, that'd have been quality.
But yeah, as I said before, Scott, I think it was just because they think they've cracked the UK market is why we didn't really get.
I just think that you don't really. Well, they've never cared about Washington. I mean, everyone who watches the draft live, you always see it always goes to commercial when it comes to us, no matter what round it is. Even if it's the first, you get like 10 seconds of fucking spiel, then that's it. That's all you get. So, yeah, you're right, Mod. LT was awesome. To be fair, he was.
He was very good. Next question is then from Canada Mike. He said, "Is there any sign of an edge rusher heading our way in free agency?" Now, I saw that who was released today by the Panthers, Jadeveon Clowney was also released today. Yeah. Would you pick up Clowney on a 1-year deal, mercenary? He wants a lot of money always.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever took less than 20 mil per 1 year. So I think he's took similar again, which I think would be crazy.
And he's not giving you a huge amount of actual edge rush, as in pass rush. He's not giving you a massive amount of pass rush sacks. Very good at setting the edge. I mean, I get that. Von Miller, I understand where you're coming from.
With that 36, bro. We can't play 3 downs every time. You know,
I don't want him to play 3 downs. I want him to play
we need a guy who can rush and not just fucking 1 down every 3 fucking drives. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, that's what everyone's kicking off about, because they're saying, well, Dante Fowler Jr. got 10.5 sacks. Yes, he did. He's a situational pass rusher. Why can't we have a situational pass rusher again?
Yeah, but the thing is, though, he was on the field a lot more than just 3rd downs, which is what Von Miller's been for the last 3 years.
No, he wasn't on the field that much, to be honest, Scouse. He wasn't actually on the field more than 2 downs a play. I mean, if you want to, we can get snap counts out and have a look, but he
Miller was getting 3rd down. That's all he was. He was 3rd down pass rusher. That's all Von Miller.
No, I mean, but what I'm saying is Fowler wasn't as on the field as much as you're saying. He wasn't like out there every single snap. He was more than just a 3rd down pass rusher, though. He was more than that. I don't think he was. I mean, we need a situational pass rusher, and we've got, as we've said, we've brought in lots of big bodies. And another question here was from Canada Mike, who was talking, or in fact, it was from Rod. He said, "Does it look like we're moving away from edges and as such using the elephant end with Kinlaw? This is set up. This is what was set up by DQ and used in Seattle, creating a move." Interior pressure to compress the pocket and stop the quarterback stepping up into the pocket. Yes, is the answer to that. I think there's going to be a lot more interior pressure this year from the likes of Kinlaw, from the likes of Daron Payne. They're hoping that Johnny Newton will do the same. And then obviously Goldman over at nose tackle. What can he do? We've bought edge setters, haven't we? That's what we've done this off season.
Yeah, and I get it. Set the edge, great. But the thing is, though, I know they're probably you're going to play the elephant end. I think that's probably what they're going to do. Kinlaw's probably going to start. He's going to play one side and just try and bring everybody into the middle. They're going to play probably wide. They're probably going to play 3 wide, maybe 4 wide.
Yeah, 3 tech is where you want to be.
Yeah, and then you're going to go wide, and they're going to go wide. So to try and force them to come inwards more than going to the outsides, because our linebackers can't cover for shit. Right? They can't get sideline to sideline. So you're better off trying to make them go through the middle, run through the middle rather than run to the edges. So again, I understand what they're trying to do with getting Kinlaw and getting Goldman and getting these other dudes. I kind of understand that. But it's like you say, if you want an actual rush, you actually want to rush the passer, we haven't got it. We just don't have it. I mean, Armstrong's not a great rusher either.
No, he's not.
Let's face it. I mean, he's our best rusher, but he's not a great rusher. I call him good. I wouldn't call him great.
Who else have we got? So we've got Dietrich Wise is a new guy
again,
there.
Edge setter.
Mm-hmm.
And
then Jacob Martin is an edge rusher.
Setter. He's meant to be able to a bit more about him, as in rushing the passer. But I've not seen too much of him, so I don't know. I don't know much about him, to be fair. But
yeah, and this is the Deluxe's point now. He's saying average like 4.5 sacks a year for Fowler. He got sacked but gave up the run because he played more than expected. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, because Fowler was shit. And he's still there. And we still got Fowler.
Yeah, I know we have, but you're not going to. We weren't going to pay the money that Fowler wanted. I mean, what did he get off the Cowboys? About 10 mil a year.
Who's that? Fowler.
Yeah,
something like that. 10-8 million, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Will. I mean, you're not going to get a free agent at this point of the season that's anything more than depth or pass rusher. Yeah, you're right. But I'd rather me going for a Von Miller. Why don't you go out and trade for the boy that Cleveland still can't sign? Why don't you go and get him? Hendrickson, let's go and get him.
Listen, if there's a fire sale going on at the Steelers, which it seems like there is, TJ Watt?
I mean, yeah, but obviously he'd be like multiple firsts, wouldn't he? But fair play. I mean, that's a game wrecking dude. You know what I mean? That's what. I mean, it'd be great to get something like that. But I mean, even if not as good as them, just kind of someone who can actually get to the quarterback, because it's all well and good, and I understand the plan. Set the edges, try and make him run inside, etc. And have better secondary, which is what we have done with Trey Moss and all those things. We got Lattimore. He's going to be better this season because he's had a year to acclimatise, etc. But if you give the QB any NFL quarterback too much time, they'll kill you anyway. It doesn't matter how good your secondary is. Secondary can only hold on for so long. Do you know what I mean? If the QB's got 5 seconds to throw the ball, he's going to find somebody. So this is the problem. And Armstrong can say he does okay, but he's not. He's no great shakes. And we're going to need serious interior pass rush. We're going to need that if we're not going to get anything from outside. Yep. You're really, really, really going to need Daron Payne and Newton as well. You're really going to need that, man.
And that's what I'm saying. Who they've signed already, that's what the Deluxe has said there. Don't discount already who they've signed. The new secondary and focus on stopping the run will help the D-line get pressure. I agree. Daron Payne needs to go back to his year where he was balling out because he wanted a new deal. That's where we need to be with Daron Payne. Is Johnny Newton going to take that next step from the inside? Are you going to see more Frankie Louvu, rushing the passer from linebacker spot? I think that's going to happen. Kind of that more Micah Parsons type role. Don't necessarily have to have out and out edge rushers, but I completely understand where you're coming from by not having an elite edge rusher or an edge rusher of any description.
Yeah. Exactly. Two teams are afraid of a little bit. We've got a game plan for. You know what I mean? Like, if you haven't got one of those dudes, then it is always a problem. And
But you don't know. You don't know if you haven't got one of them dudes. What if What if Jacob Martin has an amazing year? What if?
Well, yeah. Well, then I'll lead Crow and say, yeah, well done, Peters, for signing Martin and letting him run wild. And great.
Let's be honest. Did we really expect Dante Fowler Jr. to come in and get 10 sacks or whatever?
No, we didn't. No. But then you let that go. Then you got to replace that. Now again, you could say, it was scheme. Well, okay, then who's the guy who's going to play Fowler's position right now? Who you think could give us 10 sacks?
No.
Do you see what I mean? Like I'm not saying that Fowler's elite because he wasn't. He just had a really good year. And you mentioned before, it's it might have been situational. It might have been a case of the defense did really well in this bit that left Fowler open, and that's the reason why he got free. But who's your guy now? You got he's got enough burst, and he's got it, and he can get to the quarterback. I don't think you've got anybody in that position right now besides edge setters. You don't have anyone who's got real, true potential pass rush. I mean, Martin potentially. People say he can rush the passer well, but okay, I've not seen too much of him. I don't know too much about him. Maybe it's Kane Madrano. We've mentioned about what he could do. He is fast as hell, and he's great in coverage. Maybe that's the way to go. He might be the guy who might step up, but again, he misses a lot of tackles, so we need to clean that up in his game.
Who is the seventh round pick?
It was the running back, wasn't it? Merritt.
Javonte Jean-Baptiste.
Oh, I think it was this year's draft.
No, last year's quite hard on him again.
Yeah, Jean-Baptiste is there, but again, how many sacks do you get? 1, 2, something like that.
Yeah, you didn't play it,
is right. We were ranked 6th in sacks last year, but again, you just lost 10, and have you really replaced it? You don't know. I mean, if Martin does the real deal, then fair enough. But at the moment, I'm thinking right now, I don't know who's going to play that position. Who's going to get us 10 sacks?
No, I understand that.
There might be a guy. It might be a Jacob Martin. It might be Kane Madrano. It might be some guys who might, surprise you. But again,
interior wise, you might get a lot off there. The other thing you've got to remember here is the reason we got killed and the reason we lost a lot of the games, especially against the Eagles, is through run.
Yeah,
through the running backs.
Most games we were the worst in the NFL against the run.
There you go. So the only thing you've done from the defensive line point of view is you shored up that defensive line and shored up the edge setting to set for the run. And then you've expanded the back end of the field. I'm quite comfortable with what we have at corner. In safety, I'm not 100% certain with Will Harris. When you replace him with Chin, it looks good.
Isn't it? It's like
you don't know till the season starts, till we've been through pre-season, till we can see how some of these players are playing. We're not gonna know. It's all speculation at the minute. But would I like to see a Von Miller turn up in the building? Absolutely, I would. No problem at all.
I mean, I'd only like that. I'd only like a Von Miller if he's there to teach somebody as well. And I'm talking if they've got a plan for Kane Madrano, for example, so he's got that elite speed for a linebacker. He does. You think, what? Maybe he's got some skills, and if he's going to be our new potential edge rusher going forward, then I wouldn't hate the Von Miller thing. I wouldn't hate the Von Miller thing. What's that?
I think he's more of a safety. He's like a tweener, isn't he? In between safety and
I think he's going to play backer. I think he's a silent sideline backer. But again, he's got that elite speed. So they're the guys you want rushing the passer. You know what I mean? Like if you're not going to play him true backer, you might play him outside backer, or I say just as that pass rusher. At the end, potentially at times, even though he's a bit thin for that, a bit small, but those delayed blitzes that Luvu does, for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
That you could use him in that respect, and I think that could be really useful for him. I think that might suit his style, his skill set. But again, yeah, I mean, if you get a Von Miller in, okay, he better be teaching that lad to be the real deal, and he better be good next year after next. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing for me, because he's 36, 37 now. Von Miller. No, this guy's not like early 30s. No, he's late 30s. You know what I mean? He's not going to be. He's had multiple injuries as well. He's not going to be the same guy you expect from 5 years ago. You know what I mean? 10 years, 8 years ago. So you got to. That's why I don't really want him. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
I get you if you want him, like.
Last question then is from Tim Towner. He says, tell us what you know about TJ Manuargani, who is our international player. That was easy for me to say. He says you might want to start with a discussion about rugby and the history of rugby players transitioning to the NFL. Who might we know? Who's done it? And does D-End seem like a good fit for him? So the ones I know off the top of my head that have transitioned are Alex Gray, who went to the Falcons from Newcastle Falcons Rugby Club. So I've played rugby with him myself. Christian Scott Williams was also a rugby player for England and Worcester.
Tell the English guys who he is as well. Alex Gray.
Oh, Alex Gray, yeah. Alex Gray is Apollo off Gladiators.
Yeah, so anyone knows Gladiators TV show, he's actually Apollo. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Apollo. So they're athletic freaks, the IPP. Now, the thing that people over in the States won't know is we get a lot of actual YouTube, we get a lot of videos on the IPP on how they're going through and looking at what they're doing. So it shows you their background, if you like, and where they've come from. Christian Scotland Williamson went to the Steelers. Christian Wade went to the Bills as a punt returner and running back. He was pretty good in pre-season. He scored 2 touchdowns in pre-season as punt returner. And you're like, holy shit. In fact, one was a punt returner, the other one was his first handoff. And you thought, yeah, he's actually going to make the 53. Couldn't crack it. Christian Scott Williams couldn't crack it. Practice squad. Alex Gray, practice squad. Then you've got Lewis Rees-Zammit, who is the fastest winger I've ever seen play rugby for Wales and British and Irish Lions, which is the top echelons of rugby union. You can't get any higher than that. And now he's a winger, so he's all about speed. Runs a quite poor 40 time in their combine, their version of the combine, and gets undrafted free agent to the Chiefs. It didn't work out for him at the Chiefs. Ends up at the Jags. Didn't play any positions at all for the Jags last year. Tried to transition him to running back, and then he got released. And then it's like, oh no, you're back on a practice squad. So he's back on a practice squad again. Now these guys are not making the grade. The only one who's made the grade out of rugby, and he wasn't a rugby union player, he's a league player, is Jordan Mailata. That is it. He's the only one that's really.
He's one who's become elite. No, I mean, if you look at like elite players who've come through the IPP, I think he's the only guy you can think of. But the thing is, though, as well, is that they're always up against it. The lads in the NFL, I mean, they start playing football when? It's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
These guys are starting to play at 17. You see what I mean? Like 16, 17. Yeah. So they lost out on like 8 years of actually education of how to actually play the game. And that's why they're picking the physical specimens and hope that the traits can land them somewhere that you might be able to do something. But the UK guys are always up against the 8 ball with that. And they always will be, unless they're actually going through the American collegiate level. You got to play college, you got to high school or college, and then come into the NFL that way, do the way they do it. If you're going to come through the IPP, I mean, you've got to be unbelievable, unbelievably gifted, or knowledge and saying, bring like a sponge type thing, because you're not going to be able to learn it in time and be good enough, because you've got to learn it on the fly. That's why it's so impressive when an IPP guy actually comes in and actually does okay. FA Bard, I can't believe he's done solid. He's been solid at Carolina before he came to us, and it's a very, very, very difficult way of coming into it, because you're playing, I'd say, 7, 8 years behind the 8 ball compared to other guys.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata, obviously he was drafted. He was draft eligible, like these lads we spoke about earlier in the show, and the Eagles took him in the 7th. They literally took a flyer on him. Now, most 7th round picks, you're looking and saying, they maybe.
You're just hoping high upside. Maybe it happens. More than likely, it won't. That's what you're looking for.
And look at how he's turned out. I mean, he's put muscle mass on, and he's got a bit bigger than he was. I mean, if you
he's
look
the guy,
at him
he's the guy who's holding the fucking tush push as well. So I hate the guy for that.
Yeah, I know, I get that. And I mean, for this, going back to TJ, who is our international pathway player this year, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to get anywhere near the 53 or even practice squad. Being perfectly honest with you, this guy is a winger and fullback. Mainly played fullback for Clermont-Auvergne. Now, Clermont-Auvergne are a very good French top 14 side in rugby union. They have been champions of Europe for 2 years. I think the last won the title 2023. So they're a very good side. They're the top of the French league at the minute. And French rugby, in case people out the other side of the pond or who don't follow rugby union, they may not know, there is no rules on salary cap over in France. So there's a lot of exciting players play in France. A lot of the talent that comes from England or comes from South Africa or wherever in the world go to France to play rugby because you can earn the coin. That's exactly what they do. I mean, Owen Farrell's out in France earning something like 1.6 million a year, which doesn't sound a huge amount in NFL terms, but for rugby terms, that is a lot of money. If you're a top level rugby player in England, you're probably earning 400,000 to 500,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can treble.
And you wonder why these guys want to come over and even be on the practice squad because they're getting like $250,000. Some even getting $500,000 being on the practice squad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I understand why these guys want to come over and play it because the money's insane. Even if you're not even that good, like if you just an edge, like say that kind of practice squad hanging on by your arse type of thing, you're still earning good money. So
I mean, it's really tough it's going to be really tough for TJ because being a winger, normally as a winger in rugby, you're not very big, as in you're quite slight of frame. You're not necessarily a big guy. Your job is mainly to catch the ball out of the air, almost like a punt returner would do, and then move quickly side to side. So he'll have side-to-side speed. He'll have good hands, but he's a defensive end, which for me doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't understand. If you can't tackle me, what are you doing becoming a defender? I mean,
you can probably tackle as a rugby player. You probably say, yeah, okay, you can probably tackle. And being South African,
I know they tackle, but that's not what they're there for, really, are they?
They're not there to tackle. They are not there to tackle. That is not their job.
They tackle. But they don't really, they don't really like contact. Yeah. And that's what wingers are like, So it's
if you'd have said to me he was a wide receiver or a corner, I'd have thought that's more believable. But as a defensive end, as a defensive end, I'm a little bit lost.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand why you thought that. I think I'll be an edge rusher. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing, bro?
I mean, you're right with what you're saying with like IPP. I mean, I was talking to Dante, obviously, who's now with the Cincinnati Bengals, and we wish him well over there. And he was saying, like, because of the academy that we have over in the UK, you join the NFL academy as a kid. So you're joining it at 12. You're going through your actual schooling, and then once you finish your schooling and you finish your GCSEs, he was telling me then he had D1 scholarship offers. He had 11 D1 scholarship offers to say go and play American football, at college, after A-levels, all that sort of stuff. At 18, you go across and you play, and you actually play football. But his GPA wasn't good enough, and he could never get maths. So because you can't get maths, you're then going, well, I'm going to have to go to JUCO, or I'm going to have to go and, do something different. And then that's where the IPP has come in and given him an opportunity to potentially make a team, which... Yeah, you're right. As you said, you're always behind the 8 ball in some way, whether it's educationally, whether it's learning the game, whether it's not being a citizen. They're just athletes from different sports.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that guy, was playing NFL at 12. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and Loughborough.
No, not NFL. He's playing he's playing NFL academy at 12 years old.
I don't even think the academy's even been going more than 5-6 years.
It's been going a while now, mate. But I'll have to look up on that.
Yeah.
But now what I'm saying is they go in at that age and then they come out at the end of the sausage machine, if you like, and then they hopefully get D1 scholarships, and that's where they go to. Because Neil, whatever his name, Neil Reynolds, is it, off NFL UK and Sky Sports? His kid is in, where's he playing? In Canada or somewhere? In the CFL. I think he's playing in the CFL at the minute. He obviously had D1 scholarships. He went to Stanford, I think. So, you can get an education and get a football education out of it, but you are right. You're not naturally playing the game at a young age. You haven't gone through, Pop Warner all the way through, right up.
Exactly. And you're learning on the fly when you get to the IPP stage.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to learn playbook, you got to learn the reasons, all of the why of everything, and there's 200 to 300 plays, and you probably never learned a playbook that big before, you know what I mean? And you're trying to learn that, and then you're trying to learn like actually the position itself that you're trying to play in. And then still produce and actually beat the other guy who's like maybe just as big as you, even bigger than you. And you got to try and get that leverage point, and you're learning all these little nuances of the game, and that takes a long, long time. And if you don't get the reps in it, you can't get it. And a lot of these guys will get like their training camp where they get loads of reps. Well, if they don't produce, then they don't they get caught, or if in a practice squad, you don't do much. You don't really do much. You
scout team.
Yeah, your scout team. You do. You do this because this guy likes to do. You know what I mean? Like that's not you learning anything. Do you know what I mean? Like so. These guys don't get the chance to actually become any good because they're not good enough right now to start or to play actually in the games. But then I understand NFL teams. They want to win. They have to win every game. I understand that. So that's why it's very difficult for them to produce.
TJ will hang around. He'll be here all season next year because it's an exempt spot. So it's the 54th spot on the team without even costing you a spot. So it doesn't cost you anything to have him on there. So he's got a year basically to learn and understand how the game works. But if we look at like someone like Louis Rees-Zammit, who's at the Jags now, I mean, I remember watching him training and it was like, oh yeah, I don't even know anything about. I mean, he knew a bit about the game because his dad followed the game, but he had 10 weeks and he'd never even put a set of pads on. And it's like, hang on a minute, mate.
Now I'm going to try out for these guys.
Yeah. Now I'm going to try and make a career in the NFL. No, and that's why it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But great question, Tim, and thank you for that. Scouts, that about does us, mate. We've nearly been on 2 hours here, bud. It's just crazy. I mean, we had a lot to talk about. I'll give you that. We did have a lot to talk about. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure seeing you again. It seems like only yesterday. It's great to pod. Thank you to everybody who's in the chat. Rod, Miles, Jesse, Commander Viscount. I think Commander Viscount actually did ask us a question, so I apologise for that. I did get it here. He said, what's your prediction for home opener?
As in who we're playing?
Yeah, who do you think we've got? Oh, it says season opener, so not home opener, season opener.
I think they might give us the Eagles,
Thursday night.
Thursday night game, Eagles. Yeah, I think that'll be a way to start off the NFL season. That'll be a nice one. That because the Eagles are guaranteed to play, and I think I said just stick that rivalry straight back out there. You know what I mean?
2 NFC Championship teams going
at it
again.
Just go for it in the same division. There's a lot riding on it even from week 1. You know what I mean? And that'll make both teams be ready for week 1. You can't just like ease your way in playing Arizona or someone who else is shite, but you take them on the best. So that'll really kind of tune us up quick as well. So I
think it's going to be LA Rams away first game of the season.
LA Rams away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LA Rams away, and I think our first.
We got the Rams or the Chargers, so we got both.
I think is it the Chargers? I think we got
the Chargers away. I know that. We got the Rams away as well.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty certain we have. Yeah. I will have to have a look.
I'm straight, Richard. I'm straight. Yeah, double check that one because I know, like the Chargers, we could play them in Brazil.
Yeah, we could do that. And we've also obviously Miami is. Yeah,
we have got Rams.
We have got Rams. I thought we did. Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm looking now.
Yeah, check now. Yeah. So I mean. I know we can play Chargers.
Yeah, so away. No, Chargers is away. Apologies. Yeah, it's the Chargers. So we've got Green Bay, Kansas City, Chargers, Falcons.
They go back to Green Bay for the away game. That'd be cool.
Ooh, first game of the season.
Fucking painful travel, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, I'll take that as Chargers then, but not in Brazil.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah, if we're in Brazil, I'm not going to that, mate. That's just
no way. No, it's too far.
So that's why, with these potential 2 international games, we could potentially still play in, Brazil or Madrid. I mean, please be Madrid. I mean, it's a 2-hour flight, man. You know what I mean? Compared to 12 hours to Brazil, that's the difference.
Or even 8 to DC.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's even further than DC. So, there's definitely no chance of going to Brazil.
No, I don't think so.
I'd love. That'd be awesome to go to Madrid though, because it's at the Bernabeu as well.
Yeah, it is.
The Real Madrid Stadium. It's just going to be. That'd be awesome to be there for that. If we were there.
Exactly. All right, mate. Well, yeah, thank you for that as well, Commander Viscount. Appreciate that question. Thank you, Rod, for being in the chat with us. Will Miles, Deluxe in with us, Jesse in with us, Ian in with us. Yeah, we appreciate you being on here. So thank you all for being with us. And thank you, Scouse, for being with me as well. I've enjoyed the show, mate.
Yeah, same here, man.
It's been good.
All good.
And we will, same time next week, we'll be on, hopefully with a little bit of a shorter one to maybe update on training camp. Maybe see if we've signed an edge rusher by then. We'll see what goes on.
We'll definitely have the schedule then by then as well, so that'll be useful.
Exactly. So it'll be a decent pod again to go through.
All right.
All right.
Bye.